Welcome back to our holiday flavor series. We are getting you ready for fall and into that winter, beautiful, all those wonderful holidays that are coming up. I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service, your family and consumer science agent. Last time we talked about pumpkin and transitioning that throughout the fall. Today we're going to look at cinnamon. Now, who doesn't love cinnamon? I will tell you, it doesn't need to be a holiday to eat a good cinnamon roll, right? Or a snickerdoodle. There's a lot of other things you can do with cinnamon as well. We get that cinnamony scent going in the house. We know that it's time for something special, something magic to happen. So we're gonna do a couple things. First of all, we're gonna do some spiced apple cider. Now, I have 8 cups of apple cider in here. I do not make my own apple cider. I did purchase it in a jug. I put 8 cups here. I'm going to turn my heat on. There it is, underneath that. I don't want it up too high because again, like we talked about with our lattes, our goal is not to boil it. We want it to simmer for a while. So I've got my 8 cups of cider. Then I'm gonna add 3 cinnamon sticks. These are whole cinnamon sticks. A couple of cloves. If you really like that clovey flavor, you can put a couple more in there, but these are whole cloves. You purchase them just like you would ground or done in the container. So a couple of those whole cloves, we're gonna throw those in there to give it that seasoning. And then I have just some orange slices. This is just a sliced up orange. Now, you could also, in our last newsletter, when we talked about fall cleaning, one of the things we made was some fall potpourri that you could simmer on the stove. So you can save those orange peels and reuse those. So I'm gonna put those oranges in there, sort of cinnamon. We have our cloves, we have our apple cider. You can add some anise to this if you would like, just the stars. Throw a couple of those in there if that's a flavor that you particularly like. Or if you want to sweeten it up a couple tablespoons of brown sugar right in the pot with this, stir it in so that it dissolves well. We're gonna let this simmer for 20 to 30 minutes to get all of those flavors all together. You can also throw this in the crock pot, and when it's time for the party, when it's time for the guests to arrive, you're gonna be able to just open up that crock pot, ladle out some spiced apple cider into your wonderful cups, whatever mugs you're using, and have a nice treat for everyone. So we're gonna leave that simmering on the stove. We're gonna make some sugar cinnamon pecans. So this is just a glazed pecan, a candy that you can take and have. Now, several years ago, one of our series, and so if you search on the YouTube channel, you can find it, was all about pecans, and we made some different candied pecans and spiced and some different things on them. So today we're just gonna do a basic cinnamon sugar pecan. You don't have to be a baker. You don't have to cook a lot to do these or make them work. And again, I'm gonna show you today how to get it all together and put it in the oven, but you could also layer these in your crock pot and let them cook that way. So what we're gonna do first, I went ahead and I'm gonna half the recipe for what I'm showing you, but I'm gonna tell you the actual recipe because I made some ahead so you could see what they look like in the end. So here I have, this is an egg white. If you're not good at separating your eggs and removing the yolk, get your egg separator out and get that done. So you just have the white. We're gonna mix that with a tablespoon of water that I already have in my mixing bowl. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna create that glaze to go on there. So I'm gonna take this, metal whisk, metal bowl. It's a little loud. I hope it's not too loud for you. We don't have to do it very long, luckily. So we're just gonna whip that together so that you have that nice, frothy looking, can't tell if you guys can see that or not, so that it's kind of frothed up, get it a little foamy. And then we're gonna take our pecans. For this recipe, we're gonna do a pound of pecans. We're gonna just mix those in there. These are halved pecans. If you want more like a candy feel to it, you can just use the chunks that are already chopped. And we are going to toss these around until they're nicely coated with our egg white and water. So then we have a couple of options how we want to lay this out. So we can spread these out. This is a parchment lined baking sheet. That's all you need. We can spread these out on that in a single layer first and then shake our cinnamon sugar on the top. Or we can go ahead and add our cinnamon and sugar. What happened to my other spoon, but we're gonna mix all this together anyway. This is, what you will use for the full recipe is 1 cup of sugar and then about a tablespoon of cinnamon and then about a half a teaspoon of salt, okay, to mix in there to get it all. You know, we use salt aside from flavoring for a lot of our chemistry pieces, a lot of the things when we bake and want to put things together. So we're going to have that little bit of salt in there. And then we're going to just shake this in our bowl right over the top of our pecans. And we're going to toss them again to get them all well coated. Well coated with our cinnamon sugar mixture. Then we are going to spread them out on our baking sheet. And we want to spread them out in a single layer because however they are stacked up is how they're going to set and harden to make that candy-like finish. So we want to spread them out into that single layer. Whoops, losing my parchment paper there. There we go, just like that. Then we are gonna pop these into our preheated oven at 300. Okay, remember, we don't want our pecans to get soggy and we don't want to burn them. So 300 is what we're gonna wanna do, about 40 to 50 minutes. It's gonna get them all crispied up. So I'm gonna swap these around for you. So when they come out of the oven, this is what they're gonna look like. You just wanna let them cool, and then this is where this parchment paper comes in really handy. These, because it's really hard to half an egg white, I did go ahead and use a full egg white. So these are almost like a brittle kind of texture, like a peanut brittle. These would be a pecan brittle, but they are cinnamon sugared pecans. You can break them up. You want to store them in an airtight container. You can buy a super cute fall or Christmassy container. Give it as a gift. Again, you can layer it out in your crock pot and let it sit and cook that way. And you have this wonderful homemade candy that you can keep and eat yourself, or like I said, they make a wonderful gift, something nice to share as we move into the holiday season. I'm gonna check on our cider real quick. Yep, it's just simmering away over here with all of our flavors in it. Okay, so once you let it simmer for that 20 to 30 minutes, of course it's gonna give off the clovey cinnamon scent to your home, as well as having it then be that yummy treat. And you can then strain it, ladle it into your mugs. Again, a to-go cup, send it home with everyone for a nice warm treat as we have these cold nights and evenings, so they can enjoy that. I hope that you have found something fun you can do with cinnamon. There's also in this month's newsletter a cinnamon streusel quick bread, which sounds just wonderful. So I hope you try that recipe and let me know how it goes. I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service. This has been part 2 of our series on holiday flavors. I hope you'll join me back here next time. We are going to talk about peppermint. How fun is that? Have a wonderful week.